In the video that I did before about bypassing the lid lock feature on this washing machine, I showed you how to stick a cut striker into this hole. I also mentioned that it quit working after a while and that I would have to take this out and flip it around. Thanks to Chris and the Reddit community, I got a message saying that the reason for that is that after 3 cycles of this striker being in place, that it would sense something was wrong and wouldn't start. It would sort of false report that the lid lock feature had been disabled. So just to be clear, this didn't disable the lid lock, it just gave it a false sense that the lid was closed. So anyhow, I was thinking, well, I can either take this out. In the other video, you saw that I had tape over that. I could keep messing with it this way, or I could come up with a different idea. This is a pain in the butt, isn't it? But anyway, I'll get into this in a second. So I thought, well, I have an idea that will make this closer to an old school washing machine, and maybe you'll agree. So here's the striker I just showed you with the top part being cut off so that it goes down into the hole in the base of the washing machine. This is another striker that I just bought for the purposes of this video. The magnetic part of this assembly is on the sides, not the bottom. You can see these indentations on the bottom that show you that there's nothing there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this little bridge out here. So I'm just going to gently cut here and here. I don't want to put this up there because it's magnetic and it'll stick to the blade. So I'm going to put the tip of the blade in here and I'm just going to cut down and get this. So here you go. This is what it looks like. Took the original striker that the washing machine came with. I just got this one on eBay. And the original screws, put them in a Ziploc bag and stored them with the owner's manual. I'm going to do a trial run with a small load. Here are the settings that I'm going to use. And in order for all the lights to be off after installing the striker, I had to unplug the washing machine. You'll notice again that I mentioned in the other video that this washing machine does not have a cancel option. You can't just cancel a load and have it drain. You can just do something else. Once you're committed to washing clothes, the only thing that you can do other than unplugging it is to press pause. There's no cancel at all. So anyway, I'm going to lift up the lid. As soon as the striker is out of its socket, those lights come on, okay? So what I'm going to do is press the start button. And you hear that obligatory 2 squirts of water. I have no idea why it does that. But as soon as you do that, if you lift up the lid, it still keeps going, okay? There's just some random clothes in there. And I'm going to let this cycle. There's, just low amount of clothes, some soap in there. I'm going to let it fill up. I'm going to come back in a second and see what happens. Close the lid, open it. Guess what? It stops. No idea why. A second ago, I closed it and opened it, nothing happens. Now, for some reason, it doesn't like it. I'm going to close it, So what happens, now this is where it goes back to being an old school washing machine. So in the old days, if you closed it, the lid switch, it would have just automatically started. So in this case, what happens is that it goes into pause mode. So opening and closing it, it stopped. So it goes into pause mode and then just gets started again. Now, I haven't experienced this myself, but I think that Chris from Reddit told me that someone mentioned that using the previous method of leaving the striker in the socket and then flipping it blew the motherboard. I haven't had problems with that. That didn't happen to me, so a word of caution there, but I can't validate that, verify that would happen to you or whatever. So anyway, it's filling right now. I'm going to try it one more time. It's filling. It's not doing anything else. There's no agitation involved. So a second ago when I lifted the lid, it stopped, remember? Now I just did it. It doesn't care. It just keeps going. So if you have an idea why that is the way it is, share it with the group here in the comment section, but heck if I know. Okay, I turned the lights on here so we can see inside the basket, and you can tell it's filled, I guess, and the machine is now agitating in light load mode. So I just lifted the lid. You can see the striker is out. It's not engaged, in other words, so it's not even lid locked. The lid is not locked. That little dealio that goes out there, that's not engaged. So that's completely, I don't know. To me it's called out, but when I lifted it up, the magnetic contact on either side of that striker disengaged this, and now it's just sitting. This is the water level in low mode for the amount of clothes that I put in. That will tell you how much water is in there right now. Notice though, it did not go into pause. So I just dropped the lid. It didn't go into pause mode. I don't know why, but it did not go into pause mode. I didn't have the video camera on at the time, but when I closed the lid, it squirted water twice. So it's continuing to wash right now. And if I lift the lid, it will stop, but it won't go into pause. No idea why. I really don't. So you would think that it would have gone into pause mode, but I guess it just stops completely because the agitator is so dangerous or something like that. You're going to see that later on in the spin cycle too, I think. So we're still in the wash cycle, as you can see, and it stopped agitating, and it's adding some more water. Let's see what happens when I lift the lid. It added a little bit more water, and I guess I turned it off at the exact same time that the water stopped. But it did add some more water, and when I lifted the lid, the agitation stopped. Okay, that was all the water was going to add. A little bit, and then that squirt. Again, it didn't go into pause mode. Okay, we're still in the wash mode and it's draining out. So what would happen if you lift the lid while it's draining? Nothing. Just keeps draining. I should put a lot of soap in there, didn't I? Anyway, maybe the rinse will get that. So There's not a lot of water in the basket or the tub or whatever you want to call it, so I'm going to leave the lid open and see if it goes into pause mode or something. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it open. Pretty quiet. So let's see what happens. Nothing. Just waiting. More draining. Okay, it's still draining. It's been a while. This thing really drains and it really spins too. I'll show you the unit spinning when it's going. This ought to stop pretty soon and the lid lock should engage. We'll see. So I shut the lid to see what would happen. And it went into pause. And it kind of drained for a second more. So it kind of kept track of what I was doing. Now you can see that the lid lock is supposed to be, I guess, out or engaged. And here it's starting to spin. What will happen when I lift the lid? Turns off. But you can see that it's now sticking out. It's now engaged. But it caught the magnets and it turned the unit into pause mode. Oh, no pause. Let's see what happens. The pause light is not flashing. So I guess it just kind of paused without pausing. Still, you heard those obligatory 2 squirts of water. Anytime it does something, apparently it's got to squirt water twice. Didn't go into pause mode. To me, the user, it went into pause mode to itself on its own. Pause light never went on after I did what I just did. So it's going to spin out of the washing mode and then hopefully it'll go into the rinse mode. The lid lock light is on and the lid lock is engaged. So if I lift up the lid, the unit will shut itself down, so to speak. And then when I lower the lid, the magnets will be detected and it'll start to function again after squirting water. Okay. So it's still in the wash mode and it's spinning out. You can tell it's really going. I mean, this washing machine, you want to talk about something that does great. It spins. So let's see what happens. Lid lock on. It did shut down, but you can see, I mean, this thing is whipping around. Don't stick your hand in here, please. Just don't do it. It's going to rip something off your arm. Break your arm, maybe. Who knows? It really is going. So, anyway, I'm going to leave it alone. That's kind of basically what happens. Just want to give you a sense of what happened with this kind of modification. So, it does kind of act like an old school washing machine. Sometimes it will go into pause and that you have to press the pause button. The only exception is like sometimes when you put the lid back down, it doesn't just start on your own like an old school washing machine would. It would go into pause mode and then you have to be cognizant of that and you'd have to push the pause start button to get it going again.